Beijing's ambition to reunify Taiwan has become increasingly clear, especially as tensions in the Taiwan Strait rise due to Xi Jinping's strong statements and the rapid development of China's military. Although the U.S. has committed to protecting Taiwan, the island knows it must rely on itself to withstand pressure from the mainland. But what cards does Taiwan have to play in this strategy? In the mid 20th century, the Chinese Civil War between the Communist Party and the Kuomintang ended with the Kuomintang's defeat and their retreat to Taiwan. However, no peace treaty was ever signed, meaning the conflict between the two sides theoretically continues. China, under Communist Party rule, has always claimed Taiwan as an inseparable part of itself, adhering to the One China policy. Beijing views Taiwan as a breakaway province, but has waited decades for reunification. Back in 1972, Chairman Mao Zedong told U.S. President Richard Nixon that China could wait 100 years for Taiwan's return. However, as Taiwan has shown less and less interest in reunification, Beijing's patience has gradually worn thin. This has pushed Taipei and the United States to prepare for a potential conflict, a war that neither side truly wants. If it were to break out, this war could change the global landscape, cause severe damage to the world economy, and strain many critical international relationships. This is why all parties involved, especially Taiwan, are working hard to deter China, the nation most likely to initiate conflict. Taipei employs a strategy of deterrence by maintaining the One China policy, but according to their interpretation, they assert that the Republic of China is the legitimate government of China, not the People's Republic of China. However, this policy causes tension between the Kuomintang (KMT) and the Democratic Progressive Party (DPP). The KMT accepts the One China principle according to their understanding, while the DPP rejects it, viewing Taiwan as an independent nation. Although the DPP has been in power for nearly a decade, they still need the support of the people and the legislative yuan to push for Taiwan's independence. However, with over 80% of the population wanting to maintain the status quo, Taiwan's official stance remains in line with the One China policy. Even though this is a strategic and somewhat unrealistic political move, Taipei is forced to maintain its position as the legitimate government of China. This allows them to hold on to the slim hope that Taiwan might peacefully reunify with the mainland, though this is highly unlikely. Taiwan's political culture has developed entirely differently from that of the mainland, and Beijing's tight control only strengthens the resolve of the Taiwanese people to maintain the current situation. The most recent presidential elections in Taiwan, 2016, 2020, 2024, all ended with victories for DPP candidates, shattering Beijing's hopes of achieving reunification through diplomatic means. By continuing to uphold the One China policy and refraining from declaring independence, Taipei avoids a strong military response from Beijing. During the time the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, has been in power, Taiwan's efforts to gain international recognition as an independent nation have consistently provoked strong reactions from China. A notable example is in August 2022, when U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, sparking outrage in Beijing. They viewed it as a sign of support for Taiwan's separatist forces. Even though the visit was not officially endorsed by the White House, Pelosi emphasized that it was America's duty to defend democracies against authoritarian regimes, which further angered China. Immediately after Pelosi left the island, Beijing conducted large-scale military exercises around Taiwan, despite efforts by President Joe Biden to ease tensions. Chinese fighter jets crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait, naval patrols increased, and missiles were fired in the surrounding areas, with some even landing in Japan's exclusive economic zone. More recently, in May 2024, just 3 days after DPP chairman Lai Ching-te took office as president of Taiwan, China deployed warships and patrol aircraft around the island. They declared it as a strong response to Taiwan's separatist moves and warned external forces not to interfere. These events serve as warnings of a potential full-scale Chinese attack on Taiwan, something many previously considered unlikely. With the DPP's new term and President Lai Ching-te in office, the question arises, will China take military action if provoked, and could war become the only option as diplomatic avenues seem to be running out? Xi Jinping must carefully consider any decision to cross the red line with Taiwan. Although the U.S. officially stopped recognizing Taiwan as an independent nation in 1979, it has maintained unofficial relations and remains Taiwan's main arms supplier. President Joe Biden has repeatedly stated that U.S. forces would defend Taiwan if China attacked. In this scenario, Taiwan has a potential ace up its sleeve that could deal unimaginable damage to China, the destruction of the Three Gorges Dam. Theoretically, if Taiwan used enough hypersonic ballistic missiles to destroy the dam, the resulting catastrophe would unleash massive flooding downstream along the Yangtze River, devastating industrial centers like Wuhan, Nanjing, and Shanghai, and causing significant loss of life and food supplies. While China insists that the Three Gorges Dam is robust enough to withstand attacks and is heavily defended, the distance from Taiwan to the dam is only 1,200 kilometers, making an attack not impossible. However, the likelihood of successfully carrying out such an attack remains uncertain, highlighting the intense tension in the cross-strait standoff. Unable to match China's military spending, Taiwan has wisely allocated its defense budget, focusing on deterrence capabilities. This includes purchasing more anti-tank and air defense missiles, developing drones and unmanned vehicles, strengthening infrastructure, and significantly expanding its ballistic missile arsenal. The Shengfeng 2E missile, with a range of 1,200 kilometers, and the Yunfeng missile, capable of reaching up to 2,000 kilometers, are strategic weapons for Taiwan. They are powerful enough to strike deep into China's territory, targeting sites like the Three Gorges Dam. However, while Taiwan could theoretically destroy the dam, it would only consider this option in the most extreme circumstances, as it could provoke a nuclear retaliatory strike from Beijing. Instead, Taiwan relies on a porcupine strategy, focusing on asymmetric warfare to hinder and discourage the enemy. Taiwan has built a formidable defense system with advanced conventional weapons, alongside cheaper but widely deployed assets like air defense missiles and minesweeping ships. Taiwan's military leaders also understand that any attack from the PLA would require a large-scale amphibious landing, which wouldn't go unnoticed by U.S. satellites. This intelligence would give Taiwan enough time to bolster its defenses. Additionally, the Taiwan Strait, with a minimum width of 130 kilometers, serves as a natural barrier, providing an opportunity for Taiwan to strike at China's landing forces. The PLA faces significant challenges in crossing the Taiwan Strait. The waters are often treacherous, with frequent storms, thick fog, monsoons, and waves reaching up to 6 meters high. Taiwan's terrain is far from ideal for a large-scale amphibious landing, and the few viable beaches are heavily fortified with missiles, machine guns, and artillery. There are even reports that some beaches are equipped with underwater pipelines capable of pumping flammable liquids, ready to engulf invaders in flames. While Taiwan doesn't have significant natural resources like oil to attract military aid, it possesses the Silicon Shield, its advanced semiconductor industry. Taiwan plays a crucial role in the global chip supply chain, home to 4 of the world's 9 largest chip manufacturers, producing nearly 70% of the world's microchips. Notably, Taiwan dominates the production of the most advanced chips, controlling over 90% of global manufacturing capacity. This industry is a key factor in Taiwan's security, as any disruption could cause global economic losses of up to $2.5 trillion annually. If Taiwan's semiconductor industry were harmed, it could trigger a global financial crisis. Semiconductors are not only vital for military operations worldwide, but they also motivate the U.S. to defend Taiwan and prevent China from disrupting a supply chain it heavily relies on. Despite investing billions in its own chip industry, China still can't compete with Taiwan. Even if China seized Taiwan without damaging its factories, running them would be difficult. Taiwan's chip industry depends on a complex supply chain, tens of thousands of skilled workers, and equipment from the US, Japan, and the Netherlands. In a conflict, these supply chains could be severed, making it hard for China to resume production. However, some observers warn that the Silicon Shield might not be enough to deter China. For China, the Taiwan issue is not just economic, it's deeply emotional and historical. Reclaiming Taiwan is seen as crucial for restoring national honor and legitimacy. While the PLA is large and modern, it lacks combat experience, which is one reason Xi Jinping has hesitated to invade, especially with the possibility of facing U.S. forces. Xi Jinping still hopes to reclaim Taiwan without firing a shot, which is why he often speaks of peaceful reunification. However, if he believes that peaceful means are no longer viable, China might resort to force, even if the odds of success are uncertain. No Chinese leader can abandon the effort to reclaim Taiwan without facing serious political risks. If war breaks out, China may be prepared to lose access to Taiwan's semiconductor technology. With its massive economy, China might weather the crisis better than many other countries. Taiwan should focus on strengthening its defenses and casting doubt on China's ability to take the island by force. At the same time, Taiwan needs to leverage tech diplomacy, strengthening economic ties with countries like the US, Japan, Germany, and the UK to reduce its dependence on China. Rather than viewing Taiwan's chip industry as a silicon shield, it might be more accurate to call it a business card that helps the island break through diplomatic isolation and opens up new economic opportunities. However, conventional military threats may not be enough to deter Beijing, and Taiwan must rely on a comprehensive strategy that combines diplomacy, economic relations, and asymmetric warfare tactics. The question remains, are economic and diplomatic incentives enough to curb Beijing's ambitions? And does Taiwan's porcupine strategy make China think twice? Ultimately, if Taiwan declares independence, would China be willing to pay the price with a large-scale attack? Share your thoughts in the comments below.